The rain hammered against the windows of our Chicago apartment, mirroring the storm inside me. For weeks, I'd been battling a gnawing unease, a sense that something was profoundly wrong. My wife, Bronwyn, a vibrant architect, had become distant, her laughter replaced by a preoccupied silence. Late nights at the office became the norm, and her explanations felt increasingly hollow. I'm Kenric, 46, an IT specialist. I've always prided myself on being observant, but I desperately wanted to believe everything was fine. I wanted to believe Bronwyn, the woman I loved with every fiber of my being, wouldn't betray me. It started subtly. Bronwyn's phone, usually left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now constantly glued to her hand, screen down. She'd flinch if I got too close, her fingers dancing across the screen to quickly close whatever she was looking at. Her passwords changed, and she'd leave the room to take calls, whispering in a tone I didn't recognize. She started taking more care with her appearance, buying new clothes and spending extra time on her hair and makeup, things she hadn't bothered with in years. At first, I dismissed it as a midlife refresh, a desire to feel good about herself, but the excuses grew thinner, the lies more frequent. One Saturday, she told me she was meeting a client downtown. I offered to drive her, but she refused, saying she needed to go early to prepare. Later that afternoon, I decided to surprise her with lunch. I called her office, but her assistant told me she hadn't been in all day. My heart lurched. A cold dread washed over me. I tried to reach her on her cell, but it went straight to voicemail. Where was she? Who was she with? The questions swirled in my mind, each one more terrifying than the last. I paced our apartment, my anxiety building with each passing minute. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. That evening, Bronwyn returned home, her face flushed, her eyes bright. "How was your meeting?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "It was fine," she said, avoiding my gaze. "Long and boring, I'm exhausted." She rushed off to the bedroom, leaving me standing alone in the living room, my stomach churning. I couldn't let it go. I needed answers. While Bronwyn was in the shower, I made a decision I knew I'd regret, but one I couldn't avoid. I picked up her phone, my hands trembling, and entered the password I'd seen her type so many times. It unlocked. The messages were there in plain sight. A name I didn't recognize, Caspian. The messages were explicit, intimate, filled with declarations of love and longing. My breath caught in my throat. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I scrolled through the messages, each one a fresh stab to my heart. They'd been seeing each other for months. Meeting in secret, sharing stolen moments, building a life behind my back. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. My head spun, my vision blurred. I sank onto the couch, the phone slipping from my grasp. Bronwyn, my Bronwyn, the woman I'd built my life with, was having an affair. The pain was unbearable, a crushing weight on my chest. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to destroy everything in sight, but I couldn't. I was paralyzed by shock, by disbelief. How could she do this to me? How could she betray our love, our marriage, our life together? I sat there for what felt like an eternity, rereading the messages, trying to make sense of it all. But there was no sense to be made. It was a senseless act of cruelty, a devastating betrayal that shattered my world. Bronwyn emerged from the bedroom, dressed in her pajamas. She stopped when she saw me, her eyes widening. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. I picked up her phone and held it out to her, my hand shaking. "Who is Caspian?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Her face paled. She stammered, I can explain." "Explain," I roared, finally losing control. "Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could lie to my face for months. Explain how you could destroy everything we've built together." Tears streamed down her face. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she sobbed. "It just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, incredulous. "You made a choice, Bronwyn. You chose to betray me, to lie to me, to cheat on me. Don't try to pretend it was some accident." She tried to touch me, but I recoiled. "Don't," I said, my voice cold. "Don't touch me. I don't even know who you are anymore." We stood there in silence, the rain still pounding against the windows, the only sound in the room the sound of Bronwyn's sobs. I knew in that moment that our marriage was over. The trust was gone, the love was gone, everything was gone. I spent the night on the couch, unable to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Bronwyn and Caspian together, their faces filled with love and desire. The images were like knives, twisting in my gut. I couldn't understand how she could do this to me. I had always been a good husband, a loving partner. I had supported her dreams, celebrated her successes, and comforted her in her failures. What had I done to deserve this? The next morning, I packed a bag and left. I didn't say goodbye. I couldn't. I needed to get away to escape the pain, the betrayal, the memories. I drove aimlessly for hours, finally ending up in a small town in Wisconsin. I checked into a motel and spent the next few days in a daze, barely eating, barely sleeping. I replayed the events of the past few weeks over and over in my mind, trying to find some explanation, some reason for Bronwyn's actions. Eventually, I realized there was no explanation, no reason. Bronwyn had simply made a choice, a selfish, destructive choice that had shattered our lives. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could control how I reacted to it. I decided I wouldn't let her betrayal define me. I wouldn't let it destroy me. I would pick myself up, dust myself off, and start over. I contacted a lawyer and filed for divorce. Bronwyn didn't contest it. She knew she was in the wrong. She knew she had destroyed everything. The divorce was finalized a few months later. I moved out of our apartment and found a small house in the suburbs. I started seeing a therapist to help me deal with the emotional fallout of Bronwyn's affair. The therapist helped me understand that Bronwyn's actions were not a reflection of me. They were a reflection of her own insecurities, her own unhappiness. I had done nothing wrong. I was a good man, a good husband. I deserved better. As time went on, the pain began to fade. The memories became less vivid, less painful. I started to rebuild my life, to focus on my career, my friends, my hobbies. I joined a hiking club and started exploring the beautiful trails around Chicago. I took a cooking class and discovered a passion for Italian cuisine. I even started dating again. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, moments of sadness, moments when I wondered if I would ever truly be happy again. But I persevered. I refused to let Bronwyn's betrayal define me. I refused to let it steal my joy, my hope, my future. One day I received an email from Bronwyn. She wanted to meet. I hesitated but eventually agreed. We met at a coffee shop downtown. She looked older, more tired. Her eyes were sad. "I wanted to apologize," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know I hurt you deeply. I know I destroyed our marriage. I'm so sorry." I looked at her, my heart filled with a mixture of pity and anger. "Why, Bronwyn? Why did you do it?" she sighed. "I don't know," she said. "I was unhappy. I felt trapped. I thought Caspian could make me happy, but I was wrong. He didn't. He was just a distraction, a temporary escape from my own problems." "And what about me?" I asked. "Didn't I make you happy?" She shook her head. "Not enough," she said. "I needed something more, something I couldn't find with you." I stared at her, speechless. I couldn't believe she was saying this. After all we had been through, after all the pain she had caused, she still couldn't admit that she had made a mistake. She still couldn't take responsibility for her actions. "I don't understand you, Bronwyn," I said finally. "I don't think I ever did." I stood up and walked away, leaving her sitting alone at the table, her tears streaming down her face. I didn't look back. I knew I had made the right decision. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forget what she had done. A few years later, I met someone new. Her name was Genevieve. She was kind, compassionate, and intelligent. She loved me for who I was, flaws and all. We got married and built a beautiful life together. I finally found the happiness I had been searching for. Bronwyn, on the other hand, didn't fare so well. Her affair with Caspian ended badly. He left her for someone else. She lost her job and struggled to find new work. She ended up moving back in with her parents, a broken and bitter woman. I heard about her struggles through mutual friends. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but I didn't regret my decision to leave her. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience with Bronwyn. I learned that trust is precious and easily broken. I learned that love is not always enough. And I learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away. Life isn't always fair, and sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. But we can't let their actions define us. We have to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and keep moving forward. We have to believe that happiness is possible even after the most devastating betrayals. And sometimes, just sometimes, karma does come around. Several years passed. Genevieve and I built a wonderful life. We traveled, we laughed, we supported each other's dreams. One evening I received a call from an unfamiliar number. Hesitantly I answered. Kenric, a weak voice inquired. It took me a moment, but I recognized Bronwyn's tone. Bronwyn, what do you want? There was a long pause, then a shaky breath. I need your help. I was stunned. My help after everything? Bronwyn, you destroyed my life. No, I know, and I'm so sorry, but Caspian, he left me with nothing. I'm sick, Kenric, really sick, and I have no insurance. I can't afford treatment. A wave of conflicting emotions washed over me. Anger, resentment, but also a flicker of something akin to pity. Bronwyn, I don't know what to say. Please, Kenric, I'm desperate. I have no one else to turn to. I told her I'd think about it and hung up. Genevieve, sensing my distress, gently inquired about the call. I explained everything, my voice tight with suppressed anger. Genevieve listened patiently, then took my hand. Kenric, you're a good person. You have a kind heart. But you don't owe her anything. She made her choices and she has to live with the consequences. I knew she was right, but the guilt gnawed at me. Could I really turn my back on someone in such dire need, even if that person had caused me so much pain? After a sleepless night, I made a decision. I called Bronwyn back. I'm not going to pay for your treatment, Bronwyn, I said firmly. You need to understand that, but I will help you find resources. I'll connect you with social services, with charities that can provide assistance. There was a moment of silence, then a choked sob. Thank you, Kenric. Thank you. I spent the next few days researching resources for Bronwyn, making calls and filling out applications. It was a time-consuming and emotionally draining process, but I felt a sense of purpose in helping her, even if it was from a distance. Eventually, I was able to secure some assistance for her. It wasn't a cure, but it would provide her with the basic care she needed. I never saw Bronwyn again. A few months later, I received a letter from her mother, informing me that she had passed away. I felt a pang of sadness, but also a sense of closure. My story isn't a fairy tale. It's a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and resilience. It's a story about learning to forgive, not necessarily the person who wronged you, but yourself. It's a story about finding happiness again, even after the darkest of times. And it's a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable pain, we have the power to choose our own path, to define our own destiny. I hope my story resonates with you and that it gives you strength and hope, no matter what challenges you may be facing. Remember, you are not alone. You are stronger than you think, and you deserve to be happy.